Hello and welcome to Ginger Prime. My name is Brian, and in today's video we're diving into the latest March update for New World. But this is a long section of patch notes, and I'll include a link in the description if you want to go read it for yourself. But I really want to highlight a couple of key changes that they have been making to New World and get your thoughts on it. I'm also going to dive over onto the Reddit and share some of the thoughts that everybody's kind of commenting on them. Generally very positive with the things that are changing about this game. So without further ado, like if you just look here at the notes themselves, we're getting the new Ebb Scale Reach. We've kind of been having that teased for a long time. Actually, I'm going to scroll real quick, guys. The new UI for the inventory being redesigned, I think that's spot on. Just incredibly good looking, personally speaking. Various combat changes, and if you played in the preview, if you've been playing in the alpha, I am not currently in the alpha, but if you've been playing it, you know very well that there's been one skill that's favored about every other skill in the game, and that skill has been removed. So for the Healing Life Staff, the Speed of Light skill, it looks like they're really kind of reworking a lot of the classes, the weapons, so to speak, because this game doesn't feature a class system. You build your weapons, and you have two different slots with it. So rather than go through all the notes, I just wanted to kind of highlight some key changes with this. And so really what that means is that kind of at the core of it, we've seen them actually reduce the amount of experience gained for PvP. Over on Reddit, people kind of talking about, is this more them backing away from that full PvP open world that they had originally planned or sold the game on many years ago? So if you guys aren't aware of that, trust me, it's a lot of high stakes drama for players who really wanted that ability to have that full open world PvP experience, and that has since been clawed back. You can let me know how you feel about it specifically. Overall, the more they talk about how that change has impacted it, the more people that I talk to are interested in the game. So it could be just the people that I hang out with that are more excited about this change than maybe you, but you know, we can always have that discussion. So a couple highlights: decreased the XP requirements to level from 8 to 60 by 10%, not massive. They've decreased the XP by PvP faction missions by 5% to 18% total, so just further lessening that. Players who kill weaker creatures actually now suffer diminished returns for XP gains, so that's going to be 40% for creatures that are 10 to 19 levels below you, and an 80% drop for 20 plus levels below you in this regards. Now regarding, and we kind of just touched on the inventory, I thought that was really nice, but regarding kind of the in-game economy, this is really where it gets interesting, and honestly this is kind of where I wanted to have more of the discussion wrapped around this video specifically. It says all equipable items are now either bind on equipped or bind on pickup. This is an important step to protect the item economy and keep demand for quality items high by ensuring that an item once equipped is removed from the economy by being bound to the player and unable to be resold. And they created a space in the economy for similar items to be sold to other players on the trading post or scrapped for repair parts. The only thing that concerns me actually about that line is bind on pickup. I am just not a fan of bind on pickup. I'm perfectly fine with bind on equip. I think that's natural, especially in a game where there is no real degradation. When you think about that, like within the real world, you know, things kind of fall apart. Things kind of get the reason why you have to make more things is because the things that we have don't last. They have to be replaced. And this could be any number of things that you could apply to it. In an MMORPG, obviously, gear is a very important facet of your experience. And if it never left the economy, like at some point you're like, there's no reason to make something new because there's thousands of that item, hundreds of thousands of that item that are just out there on the market once people don't need it. But bind on equip, I think, is a good, solid economy move. Bind on pickup makes me nervous because I'm like, at the end of the day, just if it drops, because if you want to go farm whatever that is that drops, you want to go put that into the economy, maybe it's not something that you enjoy. It gives you motivation because there's going to be a tangible reward. But that's just my take on it. I'm sure more MMO scholarly economics could come into play and end up kind of driving that forward. So they're also continuing for the combat changes to introduce better AI. They've also introduced potions that actually have a cooldown timer, and that's going to be 10 seconds for mana potions, 10 seconds for cleansing potions, 30 seconds for health potions, and 30 seconds for regen potions, with 60 seconds for haste potions. And honestly, I think that's all good. Like, all of this seemingly is good. The beta is going to be happening this summer, and it's really quite fascinating to see. But the biggest change that I saw out of this, and the reason why I don't want to go through all the notes for you guys, because at the end of the day, there's going to be so many more changes between now and release with that when that happens on August 31st, it's just not going to matter. Like, there's not going to be anything that you're going to come to this video and be like, oh yeah, like that changed and that changed, because they have been overhauling so many things. And that kind of brings me to the crux of my opinion here before we dive into Reddit. The idea that so many things are changing, it does. While I'm excited for this game, I've pre-ordered this game. I'm looking forward to this game. I have been since I played the preview. There's just so many changes. There's so many things going on behind the scenes, and my hope is that there's a clear vision and direction being driven by the developers. We've already kind of seen like rumors and some kind of reports that kind of popped out of nowhere, saying like there's a little bit of dysfunction in the development team. And honestly, when I read those reports, I was like, yeah, that's you could say that about pretty much every game ever, probably with a handful of exceptions. Maybe that's not the case, but I'm not so personally concerned about it. So at its core, Loop and game design, they seem to be making appropriate steps. They seem to be taking in this feedback, and it's good that they're going to have hopefully all of this in place. The fear would be is that they do anything to damage the player-driven economy. The fear would be is that if all of a sudden the best gear in the game ends up always just being as a part of instance content, and thus you just go do the content rather than engage in the economy. That's where that bind on pickup becomes that point of concern. But we'll obviously keep you up to date on everything that this includes. Now, I'm excited. Obviously, we're getting new zones. It seems like even more zones are on the way. This is the March update. The beta doesn't happen, like I said, until July. So there's plenty of time from now until July with updates and more. So I'm sure they're going to be adding it in. They're also adding in the first stages of the new content that we updated you guys last month on with their developer update, so to say. So that's actually all real important. And so that brings me right now to kind of what people are saying on Reddit. So those are kind of my thoughts. I have one slight concern, but honestly, it's just up to them to knock it out of the park. But we see completely reworked and rebalanced weapon mastery and added new areas plus quests. Each update we get sounds more and more promised to be good. This game sounds more like an MMORPG, and I like this idea. And then this person quoting it, talking about different stats. We didn't go over it in this video, but note that like the primary stat and secondary stats going to scale at a different rate as opposed to 1-to-1, or at secondary attributes are going to be at a 0.65. So people start doing math. I don't think there's a lot of value in doing math on this right now. Shaping up to be a great, amazing MMO. Can't wait. Speed of light needed to be removed. 100%. I definitely upvoted that. I was like, abso-freaking-lutely. Decreased XP from PvP faction missions from 5 to 18%. Even less reason to have PvP on. WTF are they doing? Their PvP is an important aspect to me. I know that's not the case to everybody. I don't think people should be forced into a piece of content that they don't want. But obviously, at the end of the day, there's other games that can kind of adhere to that. Final Fantasy XIV being a good example, even though they are too investing in some PvP, and we'll see if that is ultimately successful. The reason I find this interesting, I find kind of these opinions fascinating as it relates to New World. Visually, the game looks gorgeous. I cannot wait to play more of this game, and I really had a great experience with it in the fall. It might not be the game for you, and if it's not, and you're still in this point of the video, thumbs up to you, sir or madam. That's you're an impressive individual for hanging out with me this long. But but it's at this point that I want to shift to the fun stuff in the video. If you guys are new here to the channel and you don't know what the fun stuff is, that's kind of where I like to highlight a previous comment from a video and also like a retweet or something happening on Twitter. So Ascendant Forces says, I'm a little worried about the enemies that can take this much gear necessary. What kind of mobs are we going to take down 3 altered wearing this kind of stuff? In relation to the Outriders' massive leaks for their legendaries and weapons, and the game just looks so impressive. So Ardent, you make the top comment of the day. And Ace the Gamer liked my tweet from Happy Anniversary PSO2. Here's to more to come. Tomorrow morning, we'll be covering the PSO2 live event. And yeah, we're getting ready to head into New Genesis. I'm still on a list. I'm still crossing my fingers I might be able to play this weekend, but I haven't heard no, and I haven't heard yes. So some people are going to be able to play the New Genesis beta this weekend. So maybe I'll be one of them. We'll find out one way or the other. Anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been Ginger Prime. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you have a fantastic day, and I hope to see you in my next video. But until then, take care. This video is sponsored by me, Ginger Prime. Hopefully you'll check out my podcast channel, Ginger Gaming Radio, which we have lots of guests, lots of great conversations, and even more highlights. Links are in the description below. Let me know what you think. Thanks.